News Day continues here on One News Now Business. I'm Danny Laurel. Here are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate fronts. The Philippines and China are discussing the resumption of talks on joint gas exploration in the South China Sea. The Chinese embassy in Manila confirmed that the parties are in communication on, quote, early resumption of the talks. It noted that this is an offshoot of President Bongbong Marcos's visit to China earlier this year. Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo earlier revealed that Beijing had proposed to hold meetings on the matter. He said it may happen in around 6 weeks from now, beginning with the discussion on the terms of reference. Recall that former President Rodrigo Duterte terminated the joint exploration talks, citing lack of progress. Some former government officials are opposing the plan to merge Land Bank with the Development Bank of the Philippines. Those in opposition include former Agriculture Secretary Leonardo Montemayor, as well as former Land Bank Vice President Pablito Villegas and Centro Saca Executive Director Romeo Royandoyan. Now, in a statement, they said the move would further disenfranchise farmers and other agriculture stakeholders. This, as the two state-run banks have specific missions for balanced socioeconomic and agro-industrial development. They also noted that the proposal came about without any public consultations in the industry. Now, a survey by the Bangko Sentral found that businesses are now more optimistic of the back of a return to pre-pandemic normalcy and higher consumer demand. The BSP Confidence Index rose to 34% in the current quarter. That's from 23.9% in the fourth quarter. The BSP said the more upbeat outlook was due to companies' expectations of a full reopening of the economy plus a return to pre-pandemic normalcy, as well as higher consumer demand and increased business activities and sustained economic recovery. Now, for the second quarter, the confidence index rose to 49% from 31.3% previously. The outlook on the economy for the next 12 months also improved to 61.9% from 46.2% previously. The BSP polled more than 1,500 companies in the survey held from January to March. Former U.S. President Donald Trump is calling his indictment a political persecution. A grand jury in New York has voted to indict Trump for allegedly paying hush money to a porn star during his 2016 campaign. Now, this makes Trump the first former U.S. president to face criminal charges. The full report on Bloomberg TV.
As you may recall, he said he was going to be arrested a week and a half ago, and he wasn't. But now he's saying the same kind of thing he did say when he claimed he was going to be arrested. He's saying it's a political witch hunt, and he's leveling blame at the district attorney in Manhattan, saying this is politically motivated. They're out to get him. They want to stop his campaign again for president, that he's the front runner. We're also hearing from supporters of Donald Trump saying the same thing, leveling a lot of criticism at the DA in Manhattan, saying this was a case that's politically motivated. It is, of course, alleging that he paid hush money to a porn star, Stormy Daniels, that he falsified documents in that payment.
Even his rival, Ron DeSantis, of the Republican Party, Jack, coming out with a tweet saying that the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda turns the rule of law on its head, that it's un-American. How will this play out in his base?
Well, clearly, the former president is trying to take an approach with this to motivate his base. He is kind of leaning into this. His statement was very lengthy, going after Alvin Bragg, a litany of complaints about how he's been treated by Democrats. It is maybe something he sees as an opportunity to motivate his base. It does raise questions about any more persuadable voters, and it's notable that we saw generally a supportive statement of Trump by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, seeing as DeSantis is seen right now as maybe the top contender for the Republican nomination for president against Trump, maybe the second-tier person after Trump. It is, I think, an opportunity for anyone who doesn't know exactly how to play this to direct the attention to Bragg. DeSantis doesn't necessarily need to go after Trump. Other Republicans don't necessarily need to go after Trump. You're seeing a lot of pressure on Bragg to sort of direct their attention elsewhere.
There are other charges that are underway, and we know that with the
previous impeachments, that it ended up playing out quite favorably, right? Do we see this galvanizing not just his base, but potentially political support within the party?
Well, within the party, clearly the initial reaction is pretty supportive. I'm seeing statements in support of Trump from not just die-hard Trump supporters, but really the mainstream Republican members. I saw one from Mario Diaz-Balart, essentially a leadership-aligned person. There was one from Kevin McCarthy that was very similar, even to what you heard from Ron DeSantis, Tom Tillis from North Carolina. Essentially, the reasoning that led to the impeachments, plural, failing on Trump is what you're seeing from the mainstream Republican lawmakers standing by him. Maybe if some of them hope that he doesn't succeed in winning a nomination going forward, they're not necessarily saying it outright. So there's still some solid support for Trump from Republican lawmakers.
So, Jody, how can we expect this to play out in the next few days when President Trump is arraigned by the district attorney's office, and when we get those specific charges? What could the picture look like?
Yeah, and you're right, Sherry, you're implicit in your question. We haven't even seen the charges yet. The indictment has not been sealed. This is all, according to people familiar, what we're seeing in terms of the indictment. But it will be sealed. Him showing up is the question. In his statement, interestingly, in Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor's statement, first of all, he didn't mention Donald Trump's name, which was interesting, but he said he would not extradite him from Florida. So that's interesting. We really don't know whether he would be made to show up. There's been talk that the Secret Service could not protect him adequately, and therefore he wouldn't necessarily have to show up in person. So we'll really have to see how that plays out.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Dani Laurel. The Trade Department has partnered with Amazon Web Services to help with the digital transition of local entrepreneurs and businesses. The agency says that the Memorandum of Understanding with Amazon signed in February would accelerate local businesses' adoption of digital tech and drive economic growth. Now, under the partnership, Amazon Web Services will train MSMEs, startups, and public sector agencies to improve their digital skills. MSMEs will have access to Amazon's technical support and training to assist the growth of startups. The DTI also seeks to utilize the cloud capabilities of AWS, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the Internet of Things. The government seeks to establish the Philippines as a production hub for manufacturing electric vehicle batteries. The Trade Department touts the presence of abundant nickel and cobalt reserves in its bid to position the country in the battery segment of the global market. The DTI also wants to create an end-to-end value chain from the mining and processing of green metals to the manufacturing of batteries, charging stations or units, and EVs. The DTI also says the growth of the EV industry is vital in generating more green investments and high-quality jobs for Filipinos. Water concessionaires Maynilad and Manila Water have sought the help of the Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System in appealing for an increase in the allocation of water supply from the Angat Dam. This comes as the National Water Resources Board approved to slash the water allocation to 48 cubic meters per second from 50 CMS. Now, because of the lower allocation and issues with Maynilad's water distribution, more customers are set to experience service interruptions. While Manila Water shared its supply with the other concessionaire, the company has decided to suspend supply assistance to maintain its own reserve. Now, for this reason, the two concessionaires now appeal for water allocation from the Angat Dam to be increased to 52 CMS. The NWRB says it has yet to study the proposal, while the MWSS assures it is ready to address the problem in case the board does not approve the higher allocation.
Kailangan ng kababayan natin, hindi lang po sa kasalukuyan, no? Yung pong pati yung inaharap. Kasi kung magbibigay naman tayo ngayon, pagbigyan natin, itodo natin ngayon, baka naman sa pagpanahon ng El Nino, mas mahirapan naman po tayo, no? Kailangan natin pong balansehin.
Pag talagang 24 hours ang water interruption natin, nagde-deploy po tayo ng mga water tankers, yung mga static tank, pinupuno natin, ina-activate yung mga deep wells. At anytime po na makita natin na kailangan talaga mag-cloud seeding, you just have to contact Bureau of Soils and Management.
The Energy Regulatory Commission says it has begun evaluating the appeal regarding the extension of ancillary service contracts. The ERC says it has received the motion for reconsideration filed by the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. This with regards to the ERC's earlier decision to deny the extension of NGCP's ancillary service deal with 1590 Energy Corporation. The Commission explains that it rejected the request as the contract had already expired in September. The ERC also says that the Energy Department had directed the NGCP to negotiate ancillary service contracts as early as 2019, though only one had been converted to a firm contract as of December 2022. The ERC, however, said it would review the appeal thoroughly. UBS emerges as the big winner in the aftermath of Credit Suisse's collapse, but the reputation of Swiss banking may have lost its shine in the process. The full story courtesy of Bloomberg Quick Take.
Swiss banking was once shorthand for stability, discretion, and wealth in the world of global finance. That's no longer the case following the collapse of Credit Suisse and its forced sale to rival UBS. Yes, the Swiss government prevented a global panic. And on the face of it, UBS looks like a winner thanks to generous public guarantees that officials included to limit losses and get the deal done in a single weekend. But in arranging this shotgun wedding, Switzerland created a bank that's now roughly twice the size of its entire economy. And investors are asking, what happens if this new giant UBS ever runs into trouble? It won't just be too big to fail, it'll be too big to bail. Former regulators warned that inside Switzerland, UBS's size will make it more powerful than any politician, giving it room to throw its weight around when it comes to policy. On top of that, the government opened the door to lawsuits from angry bondholders wiped out by the forced deal. And down the road, analysts expect money to exit Switzerland, for countries like Singapore, which has been carefully building up its private wealth industry. Also, big clients and investors who once split their fortunes between UBS and Credit Suisse would likely diversify rather than leave all their money at one firm, a lesson everyone's learned and relearned in 2023.
And those are the top business stories of the hour. I'm Danny Laurel. Join us again at 2 p.m. We are One News, all sides, all the time.